Today we're going to talk a little bit about snake breeding. A lot of us out here are in the hobby want to not only keep snakes, but breed snakes in general. We actually made a video of that, and I'm pretty sure it's going to come out before this one. Basically when we're breeding snakes, hopefully we're breeding for essentially three different things. We're not breeding just to breed, but we're actually breeding for a specific purpose. The first one is probably the most famous and probably the most prolific, at least right now, which is the ball python basically game, which is however many genes we can put into one animal. So for instance, this is Tulsa. He's a banana Mojave bee. And unfortunately as they age out, the pattern isn't quite as clear, but because he's a 4-gene animal, which means that he is banana, he is Mojave, he is pastel, and he is spider. So that's 4 genes in one single animal. None of them are recessive. They're all the incomplete dominant and then the spider gene, which is the dominant trait. But, for the ball pythons, kind of the main priority, at least, or it has been for the longest time, is just however many genes you can put into a snake to make it look a certain way, or just to have that many genes, period. And that's kind of the biggest thing right now, is that there's just ball pythons are just so prolific that's the reason why we do that, is because of how many things you can put into one single gene, or into one single animal, sorry. So that's one of the reasons why we breed snakes. It's because, number one, we're all trying to make something that looks super pretty, but for the ball python specifically, although it does exist in other snakes as well, like in boas and corn snakes, or another pretty popular one with, kind of stacking genes. But the next one is about line breeding. And by line breeding, by that I mean we're breeding specific animals for specific traits. And with me we have Pi here, who's our coral sunglow boa. And so when I say specific traits, I don't necessarily mean so she's a coral sunglow, so that means she's albino and hypo. And I don't mean we're breeding just for hypo and sunglow. So for instance, some hypos just happen to be a little bit more orange, or they reduce pattern a little bit more. And we want to continue that. We want to make the most orange animals. And so we take the most orange animal, we breed the most orange animal as well. So for instance, as I said before, she's the coral sunglow. She's very pink. She has a lot of pink along her sides. Hopefully the camera's picking that up. But because she's super, super pink, I want to make coral line albinos that are just so ridiculously pink that you can tell that every single baby that eventually will come from animals like her and then her brother Ro, who's just the regular coral albino, not the sunglow, which is just that added hypogene, you can tell that they come from those animals. And hopefully we can establish our own, line of coral albino, which is where maybe, I don't know what we'll call it right now, but these guys come from a really cool little gene pool. So that's what we say by line breeding. We're breeding for specific traits. We're not stacking genes. It's, I want the animal that is the highest white, that's the most pink, that has the cleanest banding, or whatever that is. And you specifically take animals that have those traits and you put them together to hopefully continue that down the road. And we've done that with dogs, and we're doing that with snakes right now. And that's kind of how we get a lot of the different things in general. And so that's what I mean by line breeding, is by breeding essentially the polygenic, or by polygenic, what that means is what is visibly showing physically on the animal. So the animal that is really orange and really pink, I want to make it really pink. So I can take another animal that has a lot of pinks or whatever else and put that to hopefully further that polygenic line, or bloodlines, or whatever traits that it has, and continue that to make a physically very pink animal. They've done that with the coral corn snakes, and they're doing it with several other things. And the last one doesn't have to do with genetics at all. It has to do with what the animal actually is. And what I mean by that is basically, so what that means is that we're breeding for locality. So in every single snake species, there's where they come from in the wild, they can actually vary physically from different ones, even though they're the same species. And so for instance, with boa constrictors, this is the boa imperator. It's its own species. It's not the boa constrictor, the true red tails. This is the common boa, or the boa imperator. That's the one that has all the morphs and stuff. Inside of the boa imperator, there are a lot of specific localities that have their own distinct traits, such as the Hog Island, the cake hawkers, and even specific bloodlines that are the Central Americans that in themselves are physically different. They're smaller, they're not as heavy bodied, their heads are shaped a little bit differently. But a lot of people who, for a long time, before like a lot of the morphs and genes and stuff, before ball pythons and even corn snakes, they were breeding for specific localities. So I want to breed only Hog Island boas. And so you take boa constrictors that are for sure from pure bloodlines that come from Hog Island, which is an island off the coast of South America, that these population of boas are endemic to, and that's what I want to breed. You know, for for carpet pythons, you know, they're very specific on those. So where, you know, or in green tree pythons is even more of a better example. I'll go with green tree pythons to where, you know, there's the Biox, the Arus, the Cyclops Mountains, the Jampayas, and all those ones. They're all from specific localities that are actually physically a little bit different from each other, just naturally occurring in the wild. And to maintain those bloodlines, to keep, you know, those pure animals, people will breed specifically just those locality snakes. And that's kind of what I want to get. So I'm going to wrap this up a little bit. Hopefully, I have a tendency to be really long-winded. So, you know, not breeding just to breeding, because everybody, you know, breeding snakes is really fun. It's really cool. I love it. Hopefully, we're going to do it pretty well, you know, in the coming years. However else is going on in the world. But, you know, we're going to be breeding for, you know, specific things. Number one is the genes in ball pythons. You know, just stacking genes, trying to make Pacific combo morphs, you know, pastel orange string calico ball pythons. That combo in and of itself looks really cool. It does a lot of really cool, interesting things. In addition, we're also trying to do like the line breeding type stuff, even with ball pythons. So we're breeding only calico animals that have the high white, a lot of that kind of pixelating look to carry that down further, even in those gene combos. And the last one is the locality breeding. Really, we don't have a whole lot of actual locality-specific animals. We have one. It's our gray-banded king snake, and that's from mile marker 277 down in Texas, because localities for gray-banded king snakes gets ridiculously specific. But that's really our only actual locality-specific animal right now. Hopefully, eventually down the road, we might do that. And more so with probably with like boa constrictors, like with, you know, Suriname, which are the true boa constrictors, the true red tails. So just, you know, breeding Suriname to Suriname, Peruvian to Peruvian, things like that. Hopefully eventually we'll do down the road, but that's a whole other thing. But hopefully you guys got a little bit from this video. Sorry it's a bit of a ranty one, but at least I have a snake with me this time. Good girl, pie. Please like and subscribe if you can. If you had any actual questions or ideas for future videos, or how we can even improve any of these videos, please let me know down in the comments. Hit me up on Facebook or on Instagram, jzsreptiles. It's pretty consistent across the way. Some of them have an apostrophe or whatever may have you. Once again, please like and subscribe if you can. Hope you guys are having a good day, and I'll catch you next time.